This is Graduate a CEO, what it takes and what it means to become an entrepreneur, and why college is the perfect time to start your business. Here's Jim Hunter.
Welcome back to my conversation with Jesse DePinto, the co-founder and CEO of Milwaukee-based short-term rental property management startup Frontdesk, an Inc. 5000 fastest-growing travel company that provides a home away from home for the modern traveler. Jesse, can you talk about your experience working in the aerospace, real estate, and hospitality industries and how it has influenced your approach to running Frontdesk?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I came out of college, I had an incredible opportunity to work for a very entrepreneurial organization in Milwaukee called MTech. MTech was a 18-year-old aerospace interior lighting and electronics company. It was actually started by Jerry Gendusa, another UW Milwaukee graduate, and had a fascinating growth trajectory. Turned out 4 months into the job, the company had been acquired by a publicly traded Fortune 500 company by the name of BE Aerospace, which is now part of the Rockwell Collins family. But at the time, before the acquisition, it was fascinating to see an entrepreneurial success story 18 years later. And so I learned a lot at that time working with very smart people and had that great opportunity. Went on to work at a hospitality technology company then, which then led me to Frontdesk. So the hospitality technology company was called TelcoNet, and they made energy management and guest room automation tech for hotels, big brands like Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, Starwood. They were doing really innovative technology like smart lighting controls, Alexa voice-enabled drape open and close controls. They were doing keyless entry and self check-in with Bluetooth locks before it became mainstream and widely adopted in hotels. And so it was also very fascinating to work in that industry at the time. I think what I learned is that it's really hard to innovate in highly regulated markets such as aerospace. We were doing very innovative things, but the technology trajectory moved much faster than the rate of adoption in that regulated market. And so your tech is only as good as the timelines at which these aircraft get built and delivered. And so it was a little bit frustrating from that standpoint, but it was still very exciting being on the front end of that tech, and it's still fun going up on aircraft and programming light sequences. And so it was a fun experience and learned a lot in that stint.
Well, great. Now, I want to shift for a minute. Can you talk about how you hire and manage a team for Frontdesk, especially as it continues to grow? You and your group have a reputation for creating a culture that's really very positive. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity once a month this morning to meet with the full company. It's a contagious culture of really great and really talented and high performance individuals, all collectively trying to accomplish the same goal. So we have about 75 corporate employees and about 200 local teammates that support the operations that make up our company. What we did early on to create that culture was we were very intentional about our core values early on. And we largely haven't changed those core values from the time we were 40 employees to the time we're 200 plus. And so one of the core values that people tend to like is called clean the toilets. And that means we're in the hospitality business, first of all. So cleaning the toilets is an actual role at the company that happens all the time. And it is a glorified activity because the guest goes to a unit and they see a dirty toilet. It makes or breaks their experience. So it's very real for our business. But more importantly, it's a signal that we have to do whatever it takes to succeed as a company, even if it's something highly outside of your job role. And so we have a ritual where everybody from the CFO to the new regional operations manager, when they start with the company, a part of their training criteria is they have to go on a cleaning day. They have to go clean some toilets and get a little bit of a humbled experience because we work for the guest. The guest sits at the top of the org chart. We take a servant leadership mentality toward running our business, where the more senior you are as a leader, the more the responsibility and obligation you have to see the success of your teams that report up to you, and so that they can be freed up to serve the ultimate customer at the end of this, which for us is a guest. And so we got very lucky early on by hiring a handful of very talented people that ended up hiring other very talented and good people that before you know it, that virtuous cycle ended up working very well for us. And we have now we're left with a sort of a combination of the networks of those first early talented and great hires that we made early on.
Well, that's wonderful. I know that the culture starts at the top of the organization, so don't sell yourself and Kyle short, because you all created the atmosphere that's now permeated the organization. So you should be very proud of that, certainly.
Thank you. We are.
How do you stay up to date on industry trends and continuously innovate at Frontdesk?
Well, to answer the first part of that question, we obsess over industry trends, and so there's no quick hack there other than to get up, eat, go to sleep, thinking about the business, the industry we're in, and how to see the company succeed. And so we live and breathe that. In terms of how to continue innovating, this is where culture plays a large role here, because when we got to a certain scale, we really had to detach ourselves from the end work being done and have a mindset shift from cranking out work and just doing all of the things to developing the skills of our people and creating environments and a culture where innovation and high performance thrive. And so some ways in which we do that today is by just calling out greatness. And so we have a ritual on Fridays we call the kudos train. And it's an opportunity to give kudos and a shout out to any of the hardworking teammates who work day in, day out behind the scenes. And, as part of those kudos trains, you get to sort of choose what great work you see that is most relevant for the future success of the business. And so sort of highlighting the good parts and praising publicly is one way we've kind of created an inspired innovation. And another way is by the DNA. I mentioned this earlier, but the DNA of our business is very tech forward. We took the approach of differentiating as a brand and as a company by building our own technology in-house. And so since day one, we have been, anytime we encounter an obstacle or a problem, the way in which we solve that problem is we solve it manually first, and then we automate that problem to never happen again in an ideal world. And we automate that into our technology. And so by building a company around sort of that tech stack that is built in-house and that we're dog fooding every day, it's created a really great outlet for not just solving problems, but also once that root cause is identified and this problem is solved, automate that problem out of existence so that you can then spend your time and free up your time to go focus on the next problem. And so it's just a combination. It's basically a big game of whack-a-mole, whacking one problem after another until you kind of blink your eye and realize that you're at the cutting edge of the innovation of the industry because you have solved all of the low-hanging fruit problems that most people in the industry have. And so it's been fun to watch.
Well, that's great. You certainly have an advantage because of the technology background that you bring to the whole business. That's terrific. I want to shift gears for a minute. How do you maintain work-life balance as a CEO, and what are some of the tips that you have for other entrepreneurs in this regard?
Work-life balance is tough because, the reality is that if you're not willing to do the hard work, generally you don't get the rewards at the end. And so I'm often tripped up by the word work-life balance because you don't become an entrepreneur to have work-life balance. You become an entrepreneur because you're obsessed with an idea or you're determined to make something happen, and you can't really achieve greatness when you're not focusing enough on that problem. long story short, I have zero work-life balance. You know, for me, my wife is an incredible source of work-life balance for me, and so I guess I do have some work-life balance where she makes sure that I'm prioritizing our family when I need to be. And if it wasn't for her sort of grounding me in that way, making sure I'm home for family dinner at night, making sure I'm tucking the kids into bed, having a wife and kids tends to kind of force you to take a unplug from work for a little bit. But it's I can't say that I can't say that I still have work-life balance at that point, even with that said. It's just the nature of being an entrepreneur, and that's what I signed up for.
Well, one of the important rules, I think, for entrepreneurship is to have a significant other that can handle ambiguity.
Yeah.
And you're very fortunate if you have a partner that can really understand the stresses and the uncertainty that entrepreneurship brings with it. You've got that. That's wonderful.
There's a special place in heaven for the spouses of an entrepreneur, that's for sure.
Great. What do you see as the future of the travel industry, and how does Frontdesk fit into that vision?
Yeah, so the hospitality and travel, and specifically hospitality, I'll cover, is going through sort of a third seismic revolution right now. And so the first revolution was the brand franchise model, really evolving into finding economies of scale, building corporate overlaps, and making hotels more productive by use of loyalty programs and franchised models. That is Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt. That was the 20th century innovation. Toward the end of the 20th century, it became the boutique hotel revolution. And it was sort of a kind of a U-turn on that, where consumers began to really appreciate and adopt authentic experiences with more local hoteliers, and really seem to gravitate toward more authentic experiences. The third revolution happening right now is the residential, home-like, short-term rental type of convergence with hotels. You know, a couple years ago, if you wanted a vacation rental, you would go on Vrbo, and if you wanted a hotel, you would go on Expedia. Now you can get both hotels and vacation rentals on both of those platforms for the most part. And so the convergence is happening where a consumer is starting to use short-term rentals for business trips. They're starting to use hotels more for family trips. It's that convergence is happening, and it's causing the entrenched players and the startup companies like Frontdesk to start to work more closely together to share technology, share distribution channels, share best practices on revenue management, and in some cases even share inventory on the marketplaces. We are listed on Marriott Homes and Villas, for example. This is a testament to that. You can earn and redeem Marriott Bonvoy points by staying in a Frontdesk suite. And for us, we gain the benefit of the exposure of the Marriott consumer. And for Marriott, they have the benefit of a consumer not leaving their loyalty program if they want to book a vacation rental. And so that convergence I expect to continue, and I expect Frontdesk to play a leading role in that convergence.
Wow, fantastic. Let me shift gears a little bit. I know one entrepreneur that went through a very stressful situation where things didn't work out really well for a while, and that person engaged in transcendental meditation periodically to keep body and soul together. How do you handle stress and manage your mental health as an entrepreneur?
Oh yeah, so this is I like this question because you can both not have work-life balance and find ways to manage that stress and regulate that stress. Meditation is I'm terrible at it. I've tried many different routines here, and where I've sort of landed is sort of the basics: sleep, diet, and exercise as foundations. If I don't get enough sleep, I'm cranky and irritable, and as a leader of a company, that those emotions tend to replicate, and I want to replicate positivity and not negativity. And so taking care of myself with what the doctors have been ordering for decades certainly helps me And I'm very active in a spiritual and religious life, and so I use my faith as another way to ground me in reality and humanity, and making sure that we're not just building this business for the sake of building the business. Although it's fun, it scratches an itch, it's a challenge. The way that you make this rewarding is by making sure that it's creating a business as a force of goodwill in the world. And if you're not spreading goodness in the world, then what are you doing here to begin with? And so it's always good to have a reminder for me personally as to why am I doing this in the first place, and how I hope that all of the work here will translate into fulfillment and not just net worth.
Some people feel that entrepreneurs are just in it for the money, and I don't see that, and I certainly don't see it in you and what you're doing. What other rewards are there besides building a strong equity stake, which I'm sure you're doing, but what other rewards are there for you personally in this business?
Well, for starters, it's a ton of fun. You get the opportunity to work with incredible people that are smarter than you, better people than you are, and you learn a lot and grow a lot in the process. The biggest is just growth. There's no, I love a good challenge. I think a lot of engineers love a good challenge. I'll say that I've been on this entrepreneurial journey for about 15 years now, and it's addicting. I have never experienced a bigger challenge in my life than trying to grow and scale a business. And with that challenge and with that growth comes personal growth and professional growth. And you sort of look back and you say, wow, I'm a million years ahead of where I would have been had I gone down a more tried and true kind of slow progression of my career. So it's been an incredible journey, and kind of growth is the name of the game. It's addicting.
Well, that's great. Well, you've certainly built a wonderful company, and thank you for your comments, and we wish you the best.
Thank you, Jim. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. And that wraps up another episode of Graduate a CEO. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, make sure you take a second to subscribe so you'll automatically get my new shows when they drop. Also, if you have a minute, I'd love if you left me a review so more entrepreneurs like yourself can discover the show. Until next time, take care.
This has been Graduate a CEO with Jim Hunter. If you'd like to connect with Jim and learn more about why you should consider starting a business while in college, go to jameshunter.com. Graduate a CEO is a production of Advantage Audio.